Ever since my coworkers discovered I was a wizard in the kitchen, our office dinners always ended up at my place. Chloe, the girl from accounting, always volunteered to organize the Venmo requests for the groceries. Because of that, I never felt right saying no. On the day I resigned, everyone gathered at my house for one last meal. Chloe flashed a sweet, dimpled smile at me. Elena, your cooking is seriously to die for. We all decided to send you $500 each this time. Just a little token of our appreciation. But the very next morning, a message from her popped up on my phone. Elena, running an unlicensed catering business is a felony. Your house is going to be seized, and since the total value of your sales has exceeded $10,000, you're looking at a fine 20 times that amount. Since we're former coworkers, we won't report you to the authorities just yet. Let's settle this privately. Just pay us that 20-fold fine as compensation, and we'll call it even. It was only then that I realized something chilling. As of yesterday, the total amount they had sent me for groceries over the years was exactly $10,001. Chloe Henderson had only been in the office for 5 minutes before she started flaunting her brand new designer bag. The other coworkers swarmed her, their eyes filled with envy, gushing about how rich she must be. This clearly fed Chloe's massive ego. She giggled, covering her mouth with a manicured hand. Oh, stop it. You guys will be able to afford one soon enough too. She set the bag carefully on her desk, then turned and grabbed my arm, acting all clingy. Elena, I heard you're leaving us. Can we have one last dinner party? I'm going to miss your cooking so much. I told her it was fine. I asked everyone to put together a list of what they wanted to eat, so I could prep in advance. I planned to make a massive spread. Besides her favorite honey-glazed ribs, I'd do a crispy sea bass, slow-roasted pork belly, and several fresh seasonal greens. These were all dishes they had raved about in the past. It was a lot of work, but I figured it was the last time. The moment I agreed, she gave me a tight squeeze. Elena, you're the best. With your skills, you could be a head chef at a Michelin star restaurant. I forced a smile. I wasn't particularly comfortable with her being this physical, so I gently nudged her away. My best friend, Maya, came to pick me up after work and saw the menu on my phone's notepad. She knew about my history of cooking for these people and couldn't help but nag me. You're literally quitting. Why are you still humoring them? You don't need the grocery money that badly. Making a feast like that is exhausting. What if something goes wrong? They'll just blame you. Maya went on and on. She worked in the restaurant industry and had seen plenty of people try to scam businesses for a quick buck. She was worried I was being naive. Once you're officially done, come hang out at my place for a few days. You need to rest, not be their personal chef for free. I told her it was just one last time. I wanted to end things on a good note with everyone. I promised Maya this would be the final meal I ever cooked for them. The next morning, Chloe scurried over to my cubicle. Elena. I talked to everyone about the dinner. Her voice wasn't loud, but it caught the attention of everyone nearby. They all chimed in, saying they couldn't wait for the weekend. Chloe sent me a long, detailed list. I asked everyone what they were craving. You can just follow this list, so you don't have to stress about the menu. I scrolled down and saw deluxe seafood bouillabaisse on there. My face nearly twitched. Chloe, some of these are incredibly time-consuming, and the ingredients aren't cheap. Before I could finish, Chloe pouted. Elena, are you worried we're going to be cheapskates? I instinctively shook my head. Chloe looked at me with puppy dog eyes. We won't get to eat your food ever again after you leave. We just wanted to try some fancy dishes for the finale. Don't worry. We'll split the bill just like always. She kept pushing until I finally caved. Fine. But everyone needs to send me the money for the groceries up front this time. I'll refund whatever is left over. Chloe's lips curled slightly. She was still smiling, but her tone had a sharp edge to it. I thought we were closer than that, Elena. I guess the friendship was one-sided. I frowned. Usually, a dinner only cost a couple $100 total. This menu was going to cost thousands. I wasn't stupid enough to front that kind of cash. Money is a bit tight right now, I said simply. I don't have enough in my account to cover all this at once. She acted like she suddenly understood and apologized. My bad. I'll come over early on Saturday to help you out. That night, Chloe was hyperactive in the office group chat, asking about dietary restrictions. She also told everyone to start sending the money over. Watching the chat bubble with excitement, my unease started to fade. On Saturday, Chloe showed up late, claiming she got held up. I didn't think much of it. The dinner was a huge success. Everyone seemed to have a blast. At the end of the night, I tried to calculate the change to give back to them. They insisted I keep it. In fact, every single person sent an extra $500 to my bank account. Chloe laughed and said it was a parting gift from the team. I was actually moved by the gesture. But that night, right after I finished cleaning the kitchen, I got a notification. Chloe had added my private number to a group titled Payday Collection. When I first started this job, I was naive enough to use my private number for work. Maya had roasted me for it. I eventually got a separate work phone, and that's how everyone contacted me. Why would Chloe suddenly add my private account to a group about collections? I hadn't opened any savings accounts with them. I thought maybe Chloe had forgotten which number was which and added the wrong one. I was about to message her privately when she uploaded a document to the group. The file contained a meticulous record of every single dinner we had ever had. It listed the dates, the grocery costs, and every single Venmo transfer. I was stunned. Over the last 3 years, they had come to my house over 40 times. Some were for holidays, others for promotions. Everyone always seemed so happy, always promising to host the next one. I had always felt that our office was like a little family. Then Chloe started sending voice notes. According to state law, operating a food service business without a license is a crime. Since the total value of her transactions is over $10,000, the fine is 20 times the revenue. We're going to use that to demand a settlement from Elena. The sheer malice and smugness in her voice made my mind go blank. The 60-second voice notes kept popping up one after another. We're not just getting our grocery money back. Each of us is going to walk away with tens of thousands of dollars. Think about it. $1,000 in a savings account for 3 years earns pennies in interest. But leaving it with Elena? We just hit the jackpot. You guys better thank me. If I hadn't suggested those extra payments, we wouldn't have hit the $10,000 mark. She even started coaching them on how to bully me into paying. She spammed the chat with screenshots of health and safety regulations. Study these. Don't mess up when it's time to confront her. We even overpaid her yesterday just to make sure we cleared the 10,000 threshold. I scrolled to the bottom of her spreadsheet. The total amount they had sent me over 3 years was exactly $10,001. That number was a calculated sting, a needle driven straight into my heart. Don't worry. She's legally liable for this. A 20-fold settlement is just the starting point. If we take this to the health department, her house will be condemned. She has no choice but to pay us. The group chat exploded. These were people who were hugging me and thanking me just hours ago. Finally, I was getting sick of paying $20 for a meal. I can get a decent burger for $15. Chloe, you're a genius. Your accounting skills are actually good for something. Elena is so devious. Charging us so much for the last dinner? She was clearly trying to rip us off. She's going to regret it. I couldn't believe it. These people I thought were my friends were monsters behind my back. What was even more sickening was that they had been planning this from the very beginning. A 3-year-long con. They were literally bragging about who had attended the most dinners, calculating their profit. Watching them celebrate, my blood turned to ice. My heart was breaking. They were the ones who begged to come over. They were the ones who insisted on splitting the costs. I never cut corners. I always bought the freshest, healthiest ingredients I could find. At a restaurant, a spread like mine would cost a fortune. I usually only asked for about $20 per person. I never even charged them for my labor. Then they got greedy, demanding more expensive dishes, and I tried my best to accommodate them. A coworker who always hitched a ride to my house finally spoke up. Chloe, are you sure she'll pay 20 times the amount? That's like $200,000. Chloe replied instantly with a voice note, sounding incredibly confident. Trust me, I've prepared everything. She posted screenshots of every single Venmo transaction. We just have to insist that she was running a business for profit. This was her revenue from selling us meals. Plus, remember how I told you to always put catering services in the payment memo? She can't deny it. Even if she takes us to court, we have the paper trail. I remembered then. Every time they sent me money, they would put a little note about catering or food service. I thought they were just being organized so I wouldn't lose track of who paid. I never realized it was a trap. The chat went quiet for a second before someone tentatively asked, Chloe, isn't this a bit much? Maybe just ask for a few times the amount. 200,000 is a lot. We used to be friends. Chloe snapped at them immediately. Who am I doing this for? I'm doing this for all of us. You were all on board when I first brought it up. Don't try to play the saint now. If anyone chickens out, you're dead to me. After that, no one dared to object. The truth of the last 3 years was laid bare, mocking my stupidity. I closed the group chat and stared at Chloe's contact info. I wanted to ask her why, but I realized there was no point. I started scrolling through the photos of our dinners over the last 2 years. Everyone was smiling and laughing around my table. To me, cooking was therapeutic. It was an act of love. Seeing people enjoy my food gave me a sense of fulfillment I couldn't get anywhere else. I used to only cook for Maya. She always said she wanted to eat my food for the rest of her life. So, I spent years learning every recipe I could find. When I started this administrative job, the environment seemed so healthy. Everyone was so kind. One day, I brought honey-glazed ribs for lunch, and Chloe asked for a bite. She raved about it for days and suggested we have team dinners at my place. At first, I said no. I knew it was a lot of work. But they kept acting so pathetic, saying they never got to eat real homemade food, and that takeout was too expensive. I felt bad for them, so I agreed. The first time, I only spent about $100 on ingredients. Everyone loved it so much they begged for a monthly tradition. Over time, it became something I actually looked forward to. I'd ask for everyone's favorite flavors and spend hours prepping. I thought these dinners brought us closer together. Now I knew that every compliment was a lie. I looked at the folder on my phone containing recipes I had typed out to give them as a goodbye gift. My chest ached with a dull, throbbing pain. Early the next morning, Chloe was pounding on my door. She didn't even wait for me to invite her in. "Elena, I'm here to collect the settlement on behalf of the group." The mask was off. She looked at me with pure, unadulterated greed. She slammed a thick folder onto my coffee table. It was filled with spreadsheets, bank statements, photos, and printouts of legal codes. "Let's not play games, Elena. We have all the proof that you've been running an illegal catering business for 3 years. You don't have a food handler's permit, a business license, or insurance. You've been charging us for meals, which is a major violation." The cute, bubbly girl was gone. In her place was a cold-blooded extortionist. "The law says your house can be seized, and you'll be fined 20 times your revenue. That's nearly $200,000. But look, we're friends. We won't call the cops if you just pay us that amount directly. You don't want this to ruin your life, do you? Good luck finding another job with a felony on your record." She shoved the document showing the total costs in my face. Naturally, she had conveniently left out the parts where they begged me to cook or suggested splitting the costs. I had been so good to them. I'd spend 4 hours prepping, cleaning, and cooking every single time. The money they sent barely covered the ingredients. Sometimes I ended up paying out of my own pocket just to make the meal better. At a real restaurant, labor is at least half the cost. I never asked for a dime for my time. And this was how they repaid me. By trying to rob me. Chloe smirked, looking completely untouchable. "Elena, don't be mad. Business is business, right?" She waved the folder in the air, her voice dripping with menace. "Pay up now, and I delete all the evidence. We can part ways as friends. If not, we'll see you in court." My phone buzzed. It was a message in the group chat that was basically using me as a communal ATM. Someone asked if Chloe had the money yet, because they wanted to buy a new bag. It was the woman who sat in the cubicle next to mine. A single mother. Her kid wanted fried chicken once, and to help her save money, I made a huge batch for them. I didn't even ask for money because I knew she was struggling. My heart felt like lead. My kindness had been nothing but a joke to them. Chloe tapped her foot impatiently. "Elena, come on. Write the check." I looked at her, my expression going stone cold. "I'm not giving you a single cent. If you think I've broken the law, go ahead and sue me. Report me. Seize my house. I don't care." I moved to close the door, but Chloe jammed her foot in the frame. "If we take this to court, you'll lose everything. Why would you rather give the money to the government than to your friends? How can you be so heartless?" The irony was staggering. She was calling me heartless? I slammed the door hard enough that she had to jerk her foot back. She stayed outside, screaming in a muffled rage. The moment she was gone, I called Maya. She was in the industry. She knew the rules better than anyone. I wasn't going to let them win this. Maya was at my house within the hour, and she brought a lawyer with her. His name was Mr. Brooks. I showed him the group chat and all the records I had. I showed him the frequency of the dinners. Mr. Brooks looked up from his tablet. "Elena, did you ever explicitly state that these were casual social gatherings and not a commercial service?" "Every time," I said. I'd messaged the group saying, "Hey, let's split the grocery bill, and I'll handle the cooking." I also told him I had security cameras in my living room and kitchen. The footage would prove these were just friends hanging out. That's perfect. We can argue that this was a mutual aid arrangement among friends, not a business. Voluntarily splitting costs for ingredients is not illegal. It's a potluck mentality. However, they've been planning this for years. They likely have their own evidence fabricated. Knowing I had a fighting chance made me breathe a little easier. "Mr. Brooks pointed to the Venmo memos. "This is the tricky part. They labeled these as catering services, and you accepted the payments. It makes it harder to prove it wasn't a commercial transaction." Maya snorted. "They aren't as smart as they think they are. That 20-fold fine is based on total value of goods. Their extra payments yesterday don't count toward the actual grocery costs. Even if a judge ruled against us, the amount would be nowhere near $200,000. Mr. Brooks nodded in agreement. "Exactly. And even if there were a fine, it would go to the state, not to them as a settlement." He paused for a second, a sharp glint in his eye. "Actually, we should sue them first. For extortion. It doesn't even matter if we win right away. We just need to stall. They'll realize that a legal battle is expensive and time-consuming. They'll likely drop it once it starts affecting their actual jobs." I had options. Good ones. Chloe came back later that day, claiming she was filing the lawsuit. "Elena, last chance. give us the 200,000, and we walk away. If this goes to court, you'll be the one humiliated. I looked Chloe in the eye, perfectly calm. You better file that lawsuit fast. Because if you don't, I'm filing charges for extortion tomorrow morning. The rain started around 2 a.m., a heavy, rhythmic downpour that drummed against my kitchen window. I didn't sleep a wink. Instead, Maya, Mr. Brooks, and I sat around my dining table, the very table where, hours prior, 12 people had sat laughing, drinking my wine and scraping the last bits of garlic butter from their plates. On the table sat 2 laptops, 3 hard drives, and an index folder thick with printed screenshots. We have 42 distinct instances of dinner invitations, Mr. Brooks said, his pen hovering over a legal pad. In 39 of those instances, either Chloe Henderson or another member of the group explicitly initiated the request. Phrases used include, "When are you cooking for us again? We're craving your pork belly, and can we do a potluck at your place? We'll chip in for ingredients." He tapped his spectacles against the notepad, looking up at me. "Legali, Elena. A commercial catering operation requires an offer to the public, a fixed tariff for labor and overhead, and a business infrastructure. You provided none of these. You were an employee cooking for colleagues in a private residence, accepting voluntary reimbursement for wholesale raw grocery costs. What about the Venmo memo lines?" I asked, my voice still hoarse from the emotional shock of the morning. "They wrote catering services on every transaction for 3 years." Mr. Brooks smiled, a tight, predatory curve of his lips that made me realize why Maya had paid top dollar to retain him. A unilateral label applied by a payer does not alter the underlying legal nature of a transaction, Mr. Brooks explained calmly. If I send you $20 with a memo that says for illegal narcotics, it doesn't magically turn your homemade apple pie into cocaine. Furthermore, the fact that all 12 participants systematically used the exact same memo line across 36 months proves premeditation. It demonstrates a coordinated, bad faith attempt to manufacture evidence for future extortion. Maya slammed her coffee mug onto a coaster, which is a Class D felony in this state, punishable by up to 7 years in prison. My heart pounded against my ribs. Are we really going to file criminal charges? We aren't just filing, Mr. Brooks said, pulling an official blue-backed legal document from his briefcase. We are filing simultaneously on 3 fronts. First, a police report for criminal extortion and wire fraud with the district attorney's office. Second, a civil lawsuit for intentional infliction of emotional distress, defamation, and abuse of process. And third, he looked at me over his rimless glasses, a formal complaint to the Internal Audit and Legal Compliance Department at your former employer, Apex Financial. I blinked. Apex. Chloe Henderson is in senior accounting specialist at Apex, Mr. Brooks said coldly. She used company time, corporate email accounts, and the internal team Slack channel to coordinate a racketeering scheme against a departing employee. Apex's legal counsel will have a collective heart attack when they see this packet. By 8 a.m. Monday morning, while Chloe was likely sitting at her desk sipping an iced latte and waiting for me to break, Mr. Brooks personally delivered the filings. The trap was sprung. At 10:15 a.m. on Monday, my phone buzzed. It wasn't Chloe. It was Marcus, a mid-level analyst from my old department who had attended roughly half of the dinners over the years. His voice was trembling so badly he could barely string 3 words together. Elena? Elena, please tell me you didn't actually go to the police. I stood on my balcony, watching the city traffic below, feeling a cold, clean clarity settling over my chest. Hello, Marcus. Elena, listen to me. Marcus gasped, background noise echoing behind him, sounds of panicked footsteps and hushed, frantic whispering. HR just marched into the 4th floor bullpen. They confiscated Chloe's laptop, her work phone, and they just suspended 6 of us on the spot. We're barred from the building, pending a forensic audit. That sounds like an internal company matter, Marcus, I said mildly. They're talking about wire fraud, Elena, he shrieked, dropping his voice to a desperate whisper. Chloe told us this was just a legal civil negotiation. She swore you'd just pay the settlement out of your savings because you were terrified of getting a record. She said you were weak. I spent 3 years standing over a hot stove for you people, I said softly. I cooked for your birthdays. When your daughter had the flu, Marcus, I made 3 quarts of chicken bone broth and drove it to your apartment at 9:00 at night. Did you write catering services on the Venmo note for that, too? Silence hung heavy on the line. I could hear his shallow, guilty panting. I didn't think. Marcus whimpered. Chloe said if we didn't sign the group agreement, she'd tell HR we were taking bribes from vendors. She forced us to go along with it. Elena, please, I have a family. If I get fired for felony extortion, I'll lose my license. Then I suggest you tell the district attorney everything Chloe made you do. I said, because my lawyer isn't taking any deals unless someone names the ringleader. I hung up before he could respond. 10 minutes later, my work phone, the one I had left turned on in my kitchen drawer, started vibrating continuously. Incoming call. Sarah accounting. Incoming call. Dave operations. Incoming call. Chloe Henderson. Incoming call. Chloe Henderson. I didn't answer a single one. At 11:30 a.m., Mr. Brooks called my personal line. Elena, he said, his tone laced with professional satisfaction. Apex Financial's chief legal officer just reached out to my office. They are terrified. They've placed Chloe Henderson on immediate administrative leave without pay and locked her out of all corporate accounts. Their internal security team is currently pulling all Slack logs from the past 3 years. Did they offer anything? Maya asked from the couch where she was setting up a spreadsheet. They want to settle the corporate liability aspect immediately, Mr. Brooks said. They are offering a formal corporate apology, full coverage of Elena's legal fees, and an independent audit of Chloe's accounting department. He paused, his voice dropping into a lower register. And that brings me to an interesting detail the chief legal officer let slip. What detail? I asked. Apex's internal auditors ran a preliminary sweep of Chloe's ledger this morning, Mr. Brooks murmured. It turns out Miss Henderson recently bought a $40,000 luxury watch and a designer handbag, despite making a mid-level salary of $65,000 a year. They found a $80,000 discrepancy in the department's petty cash and vendor expense accounts over the last 2 quarters. My breath caught in my throat. She was embezzling. Why do you think she needed exactly $200,000 from you so urgently? Mr. Brooks chuckled dryly. She wasn't just being greedy, Elena. She was running out of time before the end of fiscal year audit. She needed your settlement money to plug the massive hole she stole from her own employer. By Tuesday afternoon, the story had turned from a quiet legal battle into an Utrecht war. Chloe realized her life was collapsing. Deprived of her corporate backing, facing termination, and under active investigation by both the police and Apex's fraud division, she did what every cornered predator does. She tried to destroy my reputation before I could destroy her freedom. I was sitting in Maya's living room when a link was sent to me by an old college friend. Chloe had posted a long, tearful video on TikTok and a local community Facebook group. In the video, she sat in her apartment wearing no makeup, looking pale and disheveled, holding a tissue. Hi everyone, she sniffled into the camera, her voice dripping with practiced vulnerability. I'm making this video because I don't know where else to turn. A former coworker of mine, Elena Vance, ran an illegal home kitchen for 3 years, feeding dozens of people contaminated, unregulated food. She held up a stack of printed Venmo receipts to the camera. When several of us got sick after her goodbye dinner last weekend, we asked her for a refund and requested that she follow proper health codes. In response, she hired a high-powered shark lawyer to sue us for hundreds of thousands of dollars and drag our families through the mud. She's using her wealth and connections to silence working-class people who just wanted safe food. Please, if anyone knows a health inspector, help us. The video had already racked up 50,000 views. The comments underneath were sickening. What a psycho. Name and shame her. Report her home to the health department immediately. People like this belong in prison. Food safety isn't a joke. I felt a cold drop of sweat slide down my back. She's lying through her teeth. Nobody got sick. They ate 3 plates each. Calm down, Maya said, her eyes fixed on her laptop screen. She wasn't panicking. In fact, she looked almost gleeful. Chloe just made the fatal mistake every amateur manipulator makes. Which is, she brought public defamation into a criminal case, Maya said, picking up her phone. She thinks she can control the narrative? She forgot who holds the actual footage. Maya opened her video editing software. Over the past 3 years, because I was cautious about home security, I had installed a high-definition Nest camera in my open-concept kitchen and dining area. The system automatically backed up 4K video and crisp audio to a private cloud server. Maya didn't write a tearful apology. She didn't post a long text statement. She edited together a 3-minute, high-definition video response and uploaded it directly to the exact same platforms. The video opened with Chloe's tearful face saying, "When several of us got sick last weekend." Then, it abruptly cut to crystal clear 4K footage from Saturday night. There was Chloe sitting at my head table, her face flushed with wine, holding a giant lobster claw in one hand and a glass of champagne in the other, laughing hysterically. Audio picked up every word with terrifying precision. Elena, this bouillabaisse is literally liquid gold. I could eat 5 bowls of this. Guys, seriously, if Elena opens a restaurant, I'm quitting my job to be her manager. The video cut to Dave, who in Chloe's video claimed to have spent Sunday in the ER happily licking his fingers and filling a Tupperware container with leftover ribs. Then, the video transitioned to the final 10 seconds, the audio recording from Sunday morning when Chloe stood outside my front door, pounding her fist against the wood. Her shrill, cruel voice rang out across the video. Elena, last chance. Give us the 200,000, and we walk away. If this goes to court, you'll be the one humiliated. Maya placed bold, bright yellow subtitles across the bottom of the screen, highlighting every single word of the extortion demand. At the end of the clip, a plain black screen appeared with simple white text. All raw footage and audio have been turned over to the Metropolitan Police Department under case file #44090 extortion and fraud. See you in court, Chloe. The internet reaction was swift, brutal, and biblical. Within 4 hours, Chloe's original video was taken down, not by her, but by the platform for violating harassment policies. Her real name, her LinkedIn profile, and her employment history were unearthed by internet sleuths. Thousands of comments flooded her personal accounts. Extorting your friend over homemade food? You're a villain. Watch the video. She literally tried to rob her. Enjoy prison, Chloe. By Tuesday evening, Chloe had deleted every social media profile she owned. But the damage was done. The video had reached 2 million views. On Thursday morning, Mr. Brooks called us into his downtown office for a formal conference. When Maya and I stepped into the leather-paneled room, Mr. Brooks wasn't alone. Sitting across from him was a woman in a sharp gray suit holding an official badge. Elena, this is Detective Rodriguez from the Financial Crimes Unit, Mr. Brooks introduced us. Detective Rodriguez gave me a firm handshake. Ms. Vance, I've reviewed the digital evidence, the cloud backup logs, and the audio files you submitted. Ava also had a very interesting conversation with Apex Financial's legal team this morning. She opened a manila folder on the desk. Chloe Henderson was arrested 2 hours ago at her apartment, Detective Rodriguez announced calmly. I gasped, covering my mouth. She was arrested? Not just for the extortion attempt against you, Detective Rodriguez said. When Apex Financial's forensic team audited her department's accounts following your attorney's filing, they found a paper trail extending back 18 months. Ms. Henderson created 3 fictitious vendor accounts matching the names of small catering and event supply firms. She pulled out a printout of corporate bank transfers. She was routing Apex's internal event funds into her personal accounts, the detective explained. To cover her tracks during quarterly reviews, she used the Venmo receipts from your weekend dinners as proof that catering expenses were being paid out to an independent vendor, namely you. The room went dead quiet. The pieces finally snapped together in a horrifying, brilliant picture. Chloe hadn't just been exploiting my cooking skills for free food. She was using my personal bank account as a human shield for her corporate embezzlement. Every time she insisted on handling the Venmo group collection, she was matching the amounts to the fake invoices she submitted to Apex. When I resigned, her scheme collapsed. She couldn't keep generating fake catering receipts without my dinners. Worse, Apex was preparing for their annual external audit next month. She needed $200,000 immediately to replace the money she had stolen from Apex. Before the external auditors discovered her fraud, she thought that if she forced you into a private $200,000 cash settlement, Mr. Brooks said, shaking his head in absolute disbelief, she could deposit the money back into Apex's account, clear her embezzlement, and walk away clean. She's currently being held without bail, Detective Rodriguez added. The charges include grand larceny, wire fraud, identity theft, and felony extortion. Given the evidence, she is looking at a minimum sentence of 6 to 8 years in state custody. I sat back in the leather chair, my hands shaking. I thought she was just a greedy, ungrateful coworker who wanted to steal my savings. I never imagined she was a criminal mastermind who had been weaving a net around my neck for 3 solid years. What about the others? I asked softly. Sarah? Marcus? Dave? Detective Rodriguez's expression hardened. They've all been issued grand jury subpoenas. Since they signed Chloe's settlement agreement and actively participated in the harassment, they are being named as co-conspirators in the extortion charge. Their legal status depends on how quickly they agree to testify against Miss Henderson. On Friday morning, I went back to my old apartment to pack up the last of my things. Maya had helped me secure a short-term lease on a gorgeous loft downtown, close to the commercial space we were looking at for my future bistro. As I carried a box of kitchen supplies down to my car, I saw a figure standing near the lobby entrance. It was Sarah. She looked ghastly. The former star of the marketing team was wearing an unwashed hoodie, her eyes red and swollen, holding a plastic grocery bag. When she saw me, she rushed forward, dropping to her knees right there on the concrete driveway. Elena, please, she sobbed, reaching out to grab the hem of my jeans. Please, I'm begging you. Don't do this to me. I stepped back, my boots crunching on the dry gravel, out of her reach. Get up, Sarah. I have a 6-year-old daughter, Elena. Sarah wailed, tears smearing her face. Apex fired me yesterday. My name is all over the news because of that TikTok video. No agency will ever hire me again. The district attorney told my lawyer. I'm facing a felony charge as an accessory. You stood in my living room on Saturday night, I said, my voice deadpan, looking down at her. You ate 3 helpings of my sea base. You smiled at me, embraced me, and wished me luck in my next chapter. And 4 hours later you posted in that group chat asking Chloe if she had secured my $200,000 yet, because you wanted to buy a new designer bag. Sarah choked on her own breath, her face turning a sickly, mottled purple. Chloe lied to us. She told us you were making tens of thousands of dollars off us. She said you were exploiting us. You paid $20 a meal, Sarah, I said, setting my box down on the hood of my car. A single plate of sea base at a restaurant costs $45. You knew the math. You're a marketing director. You knew you were paying wholesale for luxury food. I was greedy, she shrieked, banging her hands against her own knees. I was stupid. I'll pay you back. I'll give you every cent I ever saved by eating at your house. Just tell the DA you forgive me. Please, Elena. If I go to prison, who will raise my daughter? I looked at her, at the woman I had once stayed up until midnight cooking chicken soup for when her child was sick. I didn't feel rage anymore. I didn't feel hatred. I just felt a profound, cold disgust. You should have thought about your daughter before you decided to become an extortionist, Sarah, I said smoothly. My lawyer will handle all communications. Do not come to my home again. I picked up my box, loaded it into my trunk, got into the driver's seat, and drove away without looking back in the rearview mirror once. 3 weeks later, the deposition took place in conference room 4B of the state Supreme Courthouse. The room smelled of floor wax, polished oak, and legal parchment. Sitting on one side of the long table was Chloe Henderson, dressed in an Orange County Jail jumpsuit, her hands handcuffed to a heavy leather waist belt. Her manicured nails were gone, bitten down to the pink quick. Her long blonde hair was limp and greasy, tied back with a rubber band. The arrogance, the smug, dimpled smile, the designer bags, all of it had been stripped away, leaving behind a terrified, hollowed-out 26-year-old girl facing federal charges. Beside her sat her court-appointed public defender, a tired-looking man who spent most of his time looking through his notes with an expression of total defeat. Across the table sat Mr. Brooks, Maya, and me. For the record, Mr. Brooks began, tapping a button on the digital voice recorder resting on the table. This is a pre-trial deposition in the matter of Vance versus Henderson et al., civil case number 8802, running concurrent with criminal indictment number 9910. Mr. Brooks slid a thick stack of papers across the table. Miss Henderson, Mr. Brooks said coldly, we have reviewed the plea offer extended to you by the state prosecutor. In exchange for a full guilty plea to grand larceny and wire fraud, the state is willing to recommend a reduced sentence of 4 years in state custody, provided you execute a complete confession regarding the civil extortion ring you organized against my client. Chloe's public defender leaned over, whispering in her ear, take it, Chloe. It's the best deal you're going to get. If we go to a jury trial with that 4K video, you're looking at 10 years minimum. Chloe's lips quivered. Tears overflowed her bloodshot eyes, dripping down her pale cheeks onto the orange fabric of her jumpsuit. She lifted her head, looking at me across the table for the first time since her arrest. Elena. She whimpered, her voice raspy and thin. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was jealous of you. Save it for the judge, Miss Henderson. Mr. Brooks interjected sharply. Answer the question. Do you accept the terms of the agreement? Chloe closed her eyes, her shoulders collapsing inward as if every bone in her spine had turned to dust. Yes, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I accept. And do you admit, Mr. Brooks pressed, his voice unyielding, that Elena Vance never operated a commercial catering enterprise, that all payments received were voluntary reimbursements for raw grocery items, and that your demands for a $200,000 settlement were manufactured under false pretenses to cover your own embezzlement from Apex Financial? Chloe let out a ragged, choked sob. Yes, she wept, her forehead touching the cold wooden table. Yes, I made it all up. She never charged us. She was always good to us. Mr. Brooks clicked the recorder off. Snap. The deposition is concluded, he said, standing up and buttoning his suit. Jacket. We will see you at sentencing, Miss Henderson. I stood up, adjusting my coat. I didn't say a word to her. I didn't need to. Her own greed had built the cell she was going to sleep in for the next 4 years. 2 months later, the legal hammer fell with absolute finality. The criminal trial of the Apex 7, as the local media had dubbed the group, reached its conclusion. Chloe Henderson pled guilty to grand larceny, extortion, and corporate embezzlement. The judge showed zero leniency, citing her cold premeditation and her attempt to weaponize the legal system against an innocent victim. She was sentenced to 5 years at the State Correctional Facility for Women with an order to pay $82,000 in restitution to Apex Financial and $45,000 in civil damages to me. The remaining 6 coworkers, including Sarah, Dave, and Marcus, were granted deferred prosecution agreements. They avoided state prison, but the cost was catastrophic. Apex Financial fired every single one of them for gross ethical violations. The local accounting and financial regulatory boards revoked their professional licenses. They were ordered to complete 500 hours of community service each and pay full legal fees to Mr. Brooks. Sarah's house was put up for sale to cover her legal defense costs. Marcus was forced to take a job working night shifts at a commercial warehouse. The easy jackpot they thought they had hit by keeping 3 years of Venmo receipts had turned into a financial and professional guillotine that severed their careers permanently. Nobody in the city's financial or corporate sector would ever hire them again. 6 months later, spring. The sun shone brightly through the floor-to-ceiling glass windows of a newly renovated corner building in the historic district. The air inside smelled incredible: freshly baked sourdough bread, roasted garlic, rosemary, and the rich, comforting aroma of slow-simmered beef burgundy. Above the entrance hung a sleek, hand-carved wooden sign, "The Hearth by Elena Vance." Today was the grand opening of my dream bistro. Maya and I had purchased the property using my savings combined with the settlement money recovered from the civil lawsuit. Maya served as the general manager, handling operations and logistics, while I ran the kitchen as the executive chef and owner. By 6 p.m., the dining room was completely packed. Critics from the City Food Review, local business owners, friends, and neighborhood locals filled every leather booth. The sound of clinking wine, glasses, soft jazz, and happy laughter echoed off the exposed brick walls. I stood behind the open kitchen pass, wearing a pristine white chef's jacket, embroidered with my name in dark green thread. "Order up for table 4. I called out, setting 2 plates of crispy pan-seared sea bass with saffron risotto onto the heated pass. Maya walked up, wearing a sharp black suit, a wide, radiant grin on her face as she picked up the plates. The head food critic from the Daily Chronicle just tried the honey-glazed short ribs, Maya whispered, leaning over the counter. He literally closed his eyes and said it was the best thing he's eaten in 5 years. I laughed, wiping a speck of sauce from the rim of a plate. Did he ask for a refund? No. Maya winked. He asked if he could book a table for 20 people next Friday. Through the glass windows of the kitchen, I watched my guests enjoying their food. There were no hidden cameras, no secret Venmo trap notes, no fake compliments designed to set up a 3-year extortion scam. Only people who genuinely appreciated the care, time, and heart I put into every single plate. My phone, resting on a quiet shelf in the kitchen prep office, buzzed silently. It was an automated news alert from the state court database. Case update. Inmate number 88402, Henderson, Chloe. Work release petition denied by parole board. I stared at the notification for 2 seconds. Then I swiped it away, turned off the screen, and slid the phone deep into my locker. Elena. 2 more orders of the sea bass. My line cook called out. I picked up my chef's knife, turned back to the stainless steel prep station, and smiled into the warm, bright light of my kitchen. The food was hot. The company was real. And my life was finally, completely delicious.